this new panel here. Once you launch Database Health Monitor and go into your server, you're going to see this new panel. It's the DB Assistant.
What does that do?
DB Assistant is I don't know if I want to say AI. I'm trying to guide myself away from that. But DB Assistant is our homemade assistant that will analyze your SQL Server environment, and it will provide suggestions for you for changes that can help increase the performance of your SQL Server.
Yep. And this is something that we initially added about 4 months ago. And I think that was maybe the thing that really caused us to branch the code to really start working on this as a separate release because we've got so many things in here. So, do we want to start the analysis and take a quick
Yeah,
look?
yeah. Let's show off how it works. So once you hit Start Analysis, it'll start running some background checks, and we can see here it started to run these, and it's found one that it thinks it needs to report back on. So if we look at this, the max server memory has been set. We read through it. Max server memory is set to the default value, so that's high. And then it'll provide some options over here where we can set to 5%. We can set it to 5% or 1,734 megabytes.
Okay, so just a note on this, because you might be looking at this thinking, oh, setting max server memory to 5% of the server memory seems a little bit weird. Well, this is because it is multi-instance aware, and this is on our test server that we have like 16 or 17 different instances running. So what this recommendation is looking at is it's looking at what is the total server memory, how much do we want to leave as a gap for the operating system and other things to be available there, and then taking the number of instances and dividing that remaining by those instances so they can all work evenly. Most people aren't running 16 or 17 instances on the same SQL server like we are in this demo here. So it's our test server. It just happens to be that way. Usually the recommendation is going to be here to use like 90 or 95% roughly, or 80 or 90% of the overall server max server memory setting. So, okay.
Right. And it'll explain that in its process to you as well.
Yep. There's a lot of details there. So what happens next?
So we can simply click one of these and it will apply the changes in the background, and it will just continue on. And it has set the max server memory to 1,734 megabytes for us.
Okay, so let's continue scanning. What do we get? So there's a lot of work going on here, and that's why the scanning takes a little while to go out and figure out what the next recommendation is. So the next thing it found was a really wide table. This is just one of those recommendations that maybe you shouldn't have 120 columns in your tables that you're working on. Bad design practice typically, but that's just a recommendation. From here you could jump to the database by sizes report, but overall that's just a recommendation. We don't have any fix for it. We're not going to say like drop 60 columns in order to make it smaller or anything like that. So let's hit continue scanning and see what else we get. So it's flipping through a bunch of checks there that it passed. Let's scroll up and look at what actually passed.
So we went through our wide tables and we went through database mail failures was the first one it checked right after that. And it will tell you if you have any. Right. Right. So it would stop there and it would start providing recommendations on this side if it did find any. So if you just run this returns no failures found, it means that everything's all good as what it's seeing.
Okay. And then eventually it stops when it finds a problem.
So we find the user tables and system DBs. So we have a big list here of user tables that were found in some system databases.
Oh, the master database. That's one of those that you shouldn't be using the master database as a dumping ground for your own tables.
Yeah. This is another one that we don't provide any scripted recommendations for just because we don't want to be altering your environment. So this is one where you need to take the list, right?
Yeah, a drop all tables button might have been a bad idea. Okay, cool. So where Where else do we see the DB Assistant? I mean, it's here on the server overview panel, but where else do we see it in Database Health Monitor?
Right. So if we're looking at a database overview, we'll also have the DB Assistant there with some special database level checks as well. So it will know if you're running in a server overview or if you're running it in the database level as well.
Yeah, so when you do it here, it's just going to find things about the current database. And if you click on a different database, it might find a completely different set of findings that it's going to recommend.
And then one other place, there is the general overview for the DB Assistant with a pop out. And it's essentially the same that it's running the server overview, just in a larger panel that you can pull off to the side and run other things concurrently while doing this. And then the last place that we have it, a lot of our instance reports also have the DB Assistant link here. And this will start relevant DB Assistant checks to run concurrently of the instance report that you're running.
So because you're on the job history report, it's only going to show DB Assistant findings related to jobs in some way, agent jobs. All right. Well, that's got to be one of our bigger projects that we've taken on.
Yes, it has been. We're excited to see where it goes, and we are still expanding it. This will be one that we're going to keep working on for a while.
Thanks for watching. I'm Steve, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you like it, please click the thumbs up icon. And if you want to subscribe, click subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to get notified when we have new videos. All right, have a great day.